The highest price you see is $59.99 on games like Smash Brothers. Most of these games are below $50. Now, if you operated on Twitter's socialist logic, you might think that prices for video games would have skyrocketed over the last 3 decades without politicians trying to make Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Kirby's Dream Land and Mario Kart 64 a human right. Today, I want to talk about a meme I've seen float around on social media the last week or so. It's this one right here, this gem. This particular one was shared by this self-described anti-capitalist on Twitter, as you can see. Joshua Potash, 177,000 followers on Twitter. This meme had 348,000 likes and 61,000 retweets. I've seen this posted, screenshots of this posted on left-wing Facebook pages like Other 98%, which got a bunch of likes and shares, thousands, tens of thousands of likes and shares. But this one in particular, he captions it with, "Why aren't millennials buying houses?" And the meme says, 10-year challenge, 2012. A house that looked like this was $150,000. Minimum wage was $7.25 an hour. 10 years later, it's 2022. That same house is now $550,000, while the minimum wage is still only $7.25. Now, there's a lot to say about this gem. First off, it is true that housing prices on houses have increased dramatically over the last decade, especially as of late, the last 1 to 2 years, and especially in blue states like California and Washington and other areas. There are a variety of reasons for this. One major reason is a low supply in desirable housing, which was complicated further over the last 2 years by supply chain disruptions and tariffs on raw materials used to build and construct new housing, which has slowed down the development of new housing the last 2 years. Also, the fact that artificially low interest rates have spiked demand in mortgages as buyers have been seeking to get in on these low interest rates. Now, I mention all of this because none of these problems that are causing housing prices to soar, none of these problems would be magically solved by raising the minimum wage. And there are actually concrete examples of this, one of which is the state of California, which has long had a higher minimum wage than the federal rate. This year in 2022, the minimum wage in California is roughly twice as much as the federal minimum wage, and yet California has some of the highest housing prices in the nation.
No surprise there.
Did a whole video on this back in August, in depth, explaining why, if you want further information on that. 40-minute long video. I really bring the receipts on that video. But I've noticed similar trends in states like Washington State, which has had a higher minimum wage than the federal rate. Remember when years ago, Seattle, they raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour back in, I think, 2015, and all of the progressives and socialists were all excited about it. Same thing in New York City. New York City's minimum wage is $15 an hour. So do you guys think that the minimum wage hikes in these areas has made desirable housing more affordable in places like Seattle, New York City, and Washington State?
Yeah, to the no, yeah, to the no, to the no, no, no.
But even if you want to break this down, in order to afford a house at this price, $550,000, assuming you have enough for the 20% down payment, which is $110,000, you would need roughly $2,000 a month, which is a low estimate in most cases. $2,000 a month was the first estimate I found, but then I tried other mortgage calculators, and it varied from like $1,500 a month to $3,000 a month because some calculators factored in taxes and fees, others didn't. Either way, let's just go with $2,000. Then there's also debate on what the rule of thumb is on how much of your monthly income you should allocate to housing. From what I can tell, it's somewhere between 20% and 30% of your monthly income should be dedicated to housing costs. But let's just use the higher end of that spectrum, 30%. That means you would need to make roughly $80,000 a year to afford this particular house, meaning that you would have to raise the minimum wage to $40 an hour.
That's just not smart.
Good luck with that one, folks. Now, this meme talks about millennials specifically, as if millennials are predominantly making the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, as if millennials are the minimum wage generation. According to the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics, roughly 1.5% of all hourly wage workers in the United States make the federal minimum wage. But again, that's just across the board. If we look at income statistics for millennials, according to an article from CNBC just a few weeks ago, January 13th of 2022, this article reports that according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau, the median millennial household pre-tax income was $71,500 in 2020. According to another article from CNBC titled, "Nearly 1 in 4 millennials report having $100,000 or more in savings." This was from January of 2020. I'm not sure if that has changed because of the pandemic and lockdowns and all of that goofy nonsense. Besides the point, because the article reports that according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau, the average millennial makes roughly $47,000 a year, which if you do the math, if you run the numbers, $47,000 a year is roughly 3 times as much as someone would make on a $7.25 an hour wage, which would get you about $14,000 to $15,000 per year. According to an article from Pew Research from 2018 titled, "Young Adult Households Are Earning More Than Most Older Americans Did at the Same Age," Richard Fry reports, after bottoming out in 2011, incomes are rising for American households, and those headed by a millennial now earn more than young adult households did at nearly any time in the past 50 years, according to Pew Research Center analysis of new census data. All of that said, all of this considered, I don't think that the minimum wage is the fucking problem for millennials. I even found another article, a headline from Business Insider. I was not able to read this article because I reached my freebie quota for the month before finding this article. But I think the headline touches on my overall point. This is from September of 2021. Hillary Hoffauer and Andy Kearse report millennials make more money than any other generation did at their age. But are way less wealthy. The affordability crisis is to blame. So homeownership is a problem, although I would say even with this meme, you could maybe argue that it's a little exaggerated with this meme. According to an article from the Motley Fool from September of 2021, 37% of home buyers in 2020 were millennials, more than any other generation.
Well done.
Millennials were responsible for 53% of new primary home mortgages in April of 2020. Almost half of older millennials are buying homes worth more than $300,000, catching up with older generations. Now, There is some bad news. There are some bad statistics. Despite being the largest generation by population, only 17% of homeowners are millennials. And millennials do seem to be lagging behind, pacing behind previous generations. 42% of millennials were homeowners at age 30 compared to 48% of Generation X and 51% of baby boomers at the same age. According to an article from Bloomberg titled "Millennials Are Running Out of Time to Build Wealth" from June of 2021, the article, when it talks about homeownership, talks about how one culprit could be housing prices, which have increased, especially compared with earnings. Millennials are paying a median of $328,000 on homes. Baby boomers only had to spend $216,000 adjusted for inflation in 1989. Wages, on the other hand, have risen by 20%. So the wages appear to have risen, but compare that with the 50% increase with the prices on homes, it's more an issue with the price of homes than it is wages. I found another article from Business Insider. This article I found before I reached my freebie quota for the month, titled "Millennial Homeownership is Causing the United States to Run Out of Houses." This is from April of 2021. Millennial demand for homes has left America short of 2.5 million houses. Contractors need to build up to 2 million homes to meet the demand. Who's been telling you this one, folks? Cutthroat competition and lumber shortages. Gee, I wonder why there are lumber shortages. Have sent housing prices soaring. Article talks about how millennial demand is intensifying the starter home shortage that existed even before the pandemic due to factors like rising construction costs, restrictive zoning rules, and real estate investors snapping up starter homes in hopes of making a profit. In 2018, starter homes represented just 20.9% of available housing inventory in the U.S., according to Trulia. Builders have not been producing enough homes since the Great Recession. The financial services company said that housing shortages now stands at 2.5 million homes. The lack of inventory means that contractors need to ramp up new builds if they want to satisfy growing millennial demand. As many as 1.7 million to 2 million homes per year, maybe even more, to fully repair the imbalance. Another common explanation that I see for a lack of millennial homeownership is student loan debt. This was sort of touched upon in the article I referenced from Bloomberg, which I feel like student loan debt, it's somewhat of a two-way street depending on the context, depending on the situation, whether or not your well-paying job and your income is due to your education. Obviously, for professionals like doctors, lawyers, engineers, and nurses, the high-paying income probably outweighs the high cost of college and student loans. Although a lot of millennials who did go to college ended up getting degrees that were not nearly worth the price, worth the cost of student loans, which was partly a result of parents and educators and school administrators and the culture telling millennials to go to college because, hey, don't worry about the cost. Don't worry about it. You'll make a lot of money as soon as you graduate. And besides, college is fun. Don't want to miss out on that college experience. And again, you're going to make a lot of money. Although much of this madness probably would not have happened, and college would not be nearly as expensive if not for the government trying to make college affordable by securing student loans, subsidizing student loans. How is that working out, you guys?
Oh, you absolutely suck!
Do we notice a pattern here? Do we notice a pattern here? Whenever government tries to make shit affordable, the price for whatever they're trying to make affordable tends to go through the fucking stratosphere. Government is heavily involved in housing on the local, state, and federal level, zoning laws, environmental regulations, the various federal agencies involved in housing and involved in the financing of housing, often done in the name of making housing more affordable. Yet prices have gone nowhere but up with housing. Same with education. Government is heavily involved in subsidizing public universities, subsidizing student loans, often in the name of making education more affordable. Yet prices have gone nowhere but up. Same with healthcare. It's funny, for those who have not been paying attention, Democrats in the state of California are currently debating whether or not to pass a single-payer healthcare plan in the state of California. Yet I'm over here wondering, wait a minute. I thought that Democrats made healthcare affordable with the Affordable Care Act.
Whoopsie daisy.
I guess that Affordable Care Act did not work. Otherwise, why are they trying to pass single payer?
That's a mystery.
Oh, but what's the solution? Let's just give Democrats more power over healthcare.
Oh, you absolutely suck!
So when government gets involved in areas of the economy in the name of making shit more affordable, prices go up. But then you notice the areas where government is not really involved. Take an area like video games. This is an old flyer, an old ad flyer from Toys R Us advertising video game prices. Look at these prices. Look, Madden 97 was $59.99 back in 1996. Donkey Kong Country 3, $59.99. Even NBA Hang Time and Street Fighter, as you can see, they were $69.99. How often do you see a new video game that's priced at more than $60 these days? And that's not even factoring in inflation. If you, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics calculator, the CPI inflation calculator, $59 in 1996 would be about $106 in today's money. Yet if you look at video game prices today, this is according to GameStop, the highest price you see is $59.99 on games like Smash Brothers. Most of these games are below $50. Now, if you operated on Twitter's socialist logic, you might think that prices for video games would have skyrocketed over the last 3 decades without politicians trying to make Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Kirby's Dream Land and Mario Kart 64 a human right. Without politicians trying to subsidize Call of Duty in the name of making it more affordable. And it's not just video games. I found this article from Twisted Sifter from 2016 where they documented a Best Buy flyer from 1994. Let's look at some of these consumer prices in 1994. Let's start on televisions. Notice this page right here, upper right-hand corner. A 25-inch Samsung television at Best Buy in 1994 was $299. Let's look at the cost of a Samsung television today. Look at this. This is on Best Buy. Same store, same brand of television. Samsung, 32-inch flat-screen television, bigger TV, better picture, yet it's a third of the price less than it was in 1994. And this is before you factor in inflation.
No surprise there.
Even scroll back up, you got a 46-inch TV, was $1,500 in 1994. I remember a decade ago on Black Friday getting a 46-inch flat screen for less than $500. How is this all happening? It's not just televisions. You look at computer prices. Look at these big hunky pieces of shit back in 1994. Look at these computers. They're all way more than $1,500. Some are as high as $2,000. I think I saw at the top. Where was it? Packard Bell, $2,000 for a new home computer. 720 megabyte hard drive. Holy smokes, folks. And a CD-ROM. Wow. What an amazing piece of technology. But then you scroll back down to the other computers. Look at the laptops in the lower left-hand corner of this page. Laptops, notebook, computers, Windows. $2,600, $3,300. How much are laptops now when you go to Best Buy? You would think without politicians trying to declare laptops and electronic notebooks as a human right, the prices probably just went through the roof, right? Well, of course, if we just look at Best Buy's website, now you can find laptops with much more memory, much more storage at a fraction of the price for as low as $120 in some cases. The highest you see on these laptops, the particularly the MacBooks, are $2,000. Still less than what they were back in 1994.
No surprise there.
Again, if you're operating on Twitter socialist logic, you got to wonder, how is this all possible? I don't recall politicians in Washington trying to declare laptops and flat screens and PlayStations as a human right before drafting some piece of shit legislation trying to subsidize these products. Yet the prices for these products have come down dramatically, even before factoring in inflation, despite the incredible improvement in quality. Anyway, bringing this all back to this dumb meme, I think the meme exaggerates millennials' inability to purchase homes, but millennials could be doing a lot better with home ownership. It's not millennials' fault that housing prices are through the roof, but millennials seem to be doing well with income. And I actually want to bring up an article from Scott Lincecum, which I did reference in a previous video. It's titled "The Annoying Persistence of the Income Stagnation Myth." This is from October of 2020. But one of the last paragraphs, Scott Lincecum talks about why this matters. And he says, not all of our economic and social concerns are bogus, but to fix the real problems, you first have to weed out the fake ones. So, for example, if middle-class income gains are actually pretty good, but are also increasingly eaten up by non-wage benefits, especially healthcare costs, or if millennials are actually pulling in good, generationally great incomes, but face serious cost pressures due to student loan debts or housing costs or whatever, then policymakers should stop worrying about income so much and instead start asking, why are healthcare costs out of control? Why are housing costs and student loan debt so high? And what can we do to improve these problems? So the solution to this problem is not to raise the minimum wage, which should not exist in the first place. And even if you were to do this, even if you were to raise it to the $40 an hour, as I mentioned earlier, and you were able to accomplish this without the obvious consequences of unemployment and business failure, all you would do is make the housing market more competitive for buyers rather than making the housing market more affordable. It would be like if you invited a bunch of your friends over for a pizza party, and then you ended up having twice as many guests as you expected because your friends brought other friends and dates. But instead of trying to solve this problem by making more pizza pies or ordering more pizza pies, instead of doing that, you try to solve this problem by cutting the pizza that you already have into smaller slices.
That's just not smart.
Housing prices are a major problem in the United States, but the solution is to build more housing to meet demand. And in order to do that, America needs to deregulate housing, deregulate finance, and lower import taxes to zero.